Yeah, it's too close.
But good. I think it's working. It looks like we're set for now, so that's good. Well, awesome, man. Thanks for hooking it up today. I think this will work for now.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we have been talking a lot about what we've been going through in the last month. And
Yeah.
I just realized that this morning that it is exactly 1 month. So it's been a wild ride. April's been something else.
That's right. It has been a month.
Today, yeah,
Yeah. Holy cow.
yeah. For those that might watch this that don't know what we're talking about, I mean, with COVID-19, everybody's had some changes, and we had a change in what's happening in our work, and now we're over the last month dealing with the COVID-19 from home, and also getting new things to keep us busy. So this is one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's that was a wild realization that here we are a month later, and we're now starting to do some different ways of communication. I know you and I have been working with the calendar and attending events, live events, and additive manufacturing and 3D printing. And there's been some really good ones. But aside from that, we can get into that a little bit. What have you been doing with your time now that you've had in the last the month to deal with certain things? And you're up in Michigan, correct?
Yeah, I'm up in Michigan.
Yeah.
Was in Kalamazoo. Now I live in Portage, which is only maybe 6 minutes away, 8 minutes, something like this from where I used to live. But we sold our old house in December, just before Christmas.
Okay, wow, lots of changes.
Yeah, so the house was sold, but we weren't able to close on the new house until the second week after the New Year because of the holidays and things. It pushed back our closing on the new home, so we didn't actually get into this new home until February, or actually towards the end of January.
Wow.
So newer home, still
for a long time. Yeah.
Still with EOS, still traveling, still doing all these things, and then COVID happened on the 26th, like you say, last month. We were part of a percentage of folks affected by COVID, right? So since then, I felt actually kind of fortunate with it all. My son's home anyway. So if it was going to happen, now is the best time for it to happen. So I got to stay home with my son, take care of my son, and then also start to really get moved into the new house. We were unpacked, but it takes a while for a house to become a home, right?
Yeah.
So we're just getting things in the home set up. For example, the grass here was new. It was still just dirt with seed on it. So I was out trying to get this grass to grow.
Everything's new. Oh boy.
Yep. Yeah, it was like a brand new house. I had to put in new blinds because there were no blinds originally when we bought it. So I had to go and get blinds. We were in the house without blinds for a while, but and then because of COVID, then things shifted once again. So I had already an at-home office, but now my wife is working from home.
Yeah.
And then my kid was at home. So we had to move things around once again to kind of, adapt to that change. But it's been good. It's been challenging for sure. But it's been, I personally think it's unfortunate what's happening, but it's been quite a useful time, and I think forceful for change, like you say, with communication being one of them.
I feel grateful for that, but at the same time, it's like, what can we do? It's hard to find a way to give back when you have social distancing, and communication gets to be like the only thing that I can do to reach out and talk to someone like you, and to get out of the circumstances of the normal social distancing and not being able to go and shake the hands that used to shake and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting, man, but at the same time, it's I see a lot of good things. I have gone on walks, going on walks and seeing different people out there, and everybody is a little more, even though there's distancing, people are a lot more, hey, how are you, waving, trying to keep up spirits and good stuff like that. So then I see the crazy drivers on the road. There's the crazy drivers on the road too. So there's the other side. There was a guy that just pulled up next to me and started screaming one time. So I'm like, hey, how you doing? Hope you have a better day, buddy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So there's all sides of it. That's for sure. But yeah, I've been just trying to keep busy with all the online activity that we have in our industry. 3D printing and additive manufacturing has online events, and that's all been
Mhm.
going digital. Everybody's been shuffling around to make things happen. People like we know, like Link 3D, are putting together even conferences. They had a good one a couple weeks back, and now there's one coming up this Monday, a marathon. So that should be pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to attending as much as that as I can. And their last one was really nice. It was good to have that after our whole season. This is our trade show season right now. So,
Right, right, right.
even last week I was planning to be over there at Rapid, and Rapid, this was their 30-year anniversary, and
Hmm.
unfortunately that's been postponed. So
Right,
all this digital interaction is the best way to do it, and it's working for the most part. I mean, I think people
right.
are online communicating, seeing things, seeing all the new applications out there, and 3D printing in general has gone out there and addressed some of the issues in local communities, especially because although we're not part of mass manufacturing, a lot of that is pushing towards that way with additive. And you're seeing a lot of people respond now with PPE and being able to do stuff to help local communities with their resources for protection. So that's been a nice thing to see happen to our industry, and I'm glad it's finally getting out there.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I know also too, you were telling a little bit about my background when we got on the phone here a little bit. We had some technical difficulties to start off, but you said you
Yeah.
have your background starting up things. You have a printer in your office there, and you
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
that's so a little bit about where you came from. I guess if you could rehash that story, I think that was a good
Y-
one. How you got started,
yes.
your passions, and why you're actually here doing this. It's a
Yeah.
lot. It's good.
So, um, I guess started even further back. I'd say maybe middle school, elementary school, high school, because my dad has been in the manufacturing industry for 20, 30 something now
Yeah.
plus years, knows a lot of folks. So I've always been around and been exposed to these things. In high school, I went, was it 10th, 11th, and 12th grade to a trade school part-time to be a machinist. So I've
Nice.
been around, manufacturing for a long time. Um, then fast forward, I joined the military right out of high school, which I graduated in '04. Joined the military, deployed twice, came home, used my GI Bill, took classes at Western Michigan University for integrated supply chain management, which I don't use at all. I ended up um, finishing up at school, getting married, and then starting a 3D printing company where we were trying to make additive available to uh, local businesses, local and small businesses, so that this technology was not only available to your GMs of the world, or your Blue Origins, or your SpaceX, or whoever else have you. It's a very significant technology,
Yeah.
if when applied appropriately, and it shouldn't only be available to those folks. So I did that for almost 2 years. Was at IMTS 2 years ago,
Yeah.
where I ran into Glenn Fletcher,
Nice.
right, president of
Yeah.
EOS
Glenn's
North
a,
America, and yeah, so I ran into Glenn. Never brought it up even because I knew Glenn from when I was younger, like I say, from my dad being in the industry and being around him. So I can't say I knew him, we're friends, anything like this, but I just knew who he was.
yeah.
Right, at least. So I didn't even want to bring up my business that I was running because you're the president of EOS, which for me was one day I'll own one of these machines, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah. One of
well,
these
one day
million
we'll
dollar
own one,
machines.
the
Yeah.
best company in the world.
Yeah.
One day I'll have one, and I'm not going to tell this guy about my little company, right?
Sure. Yeah.
We're just talking about the technology and things. I said hi, right? I left, and then a few weeks later, I get a phone call that there's a position open in Michigan for sales, and I thought, well, that's the best company in the world, and they want me to apply for a position in sales. Yeah, I'm going to do this, pursue it,
Right.
see where it goes, right? And I did. Worked at EOS for almost, I guess it would have been like a year and a half, almost 2 years before the COVID thing. But it was great, fantastic. The company, great company, as you know, great
Solid
group of
company.
people to
Yeah.
be, solid folks. I mean, everyone, real great. It's just unfortunate, COVID and some of the curveballs that we get handled. But I think moving forward, it really doesn't change anything for the technology. In fact, I think all of this really showcases all the advantages surrounding additive. The ability to still maintain that foothold in your production or whatever it may be, where you're able to easily pivot.
Mm,
When something like this happens, you can quickly pivot to making PPE or making something else if need be.
yeah.
So really helping with those supply chains.
Yeah, the personal protection equipment that we're seeing out there is in various forms. I mean, you have the polymer side and the metal side that are coming up with their ways to have certain solutions, customized solutions. Some things are just ideas that makers have, and other things are a little bit further along the line. Like we know, the medical field goes through heavy certifications and qualifications when printing anything, and so some of the things that are out there might not be as safe as they should be. However, there's those companies that are really looking into working with the FDA, coming up with good solutions. So there's that whole gamut of something that's more hobbyist that can help at least a little bit, to something that's
Mhm.
actually part of an FDA regulated
Right.
procedure
Exactly.
that actually is coming from a local printed shop. So that's really neat to see that. And I'd like to see this wave just keep going. It feels like 3D printing and additive is kind of hitting the mainstream right now, where people are actually looking at it more than they have in the past. And I think that's one good takeaway. The industry is really shining right now, in my opinion, from what I've seen in it. Of course, things are still unfolding as we speak, but it is exciting. I know there's a lot of upcoming events that I'm looking forward to doing online, and can't wait to see what's next. I mean, there's so many new things going on in the technology, softwares, applications,
Right.
you name it. There's a lot. Everybody's pushing the envelope a little further each year, and this is the season again of trade shows, where you kind of get involved in seeing what's going on, and seeing the new things, and then the tried and true things that continue to work in the industry. So that's, now it's the only place to do it is online, because we can't go to the trade shows and check those things out and shake hands and talk to our friends and colleagues up close and personal. But being able to do this has kind of saved my life. And again, I thank you for doing this today, because
Yeah.
I've been
Absolutely.
trying to start something that we could keep the communication going, and you and I have done that over the last month. So it's been a
Yeah.
pleasure, man.
It's been it's been rough trying to
It's
get
been
everything
rough,
figured out.
actually. Yeah,
It's
but
been rough, but
we're digging through it.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep pushing. So, but yeah, no, I agree. And with what you're saying about the trade shows and the technology, also, it's kind of nice that this whole workflow and the AI and augmented reality, a lot of these things exist digitally.
Yeah.
The digital data, that workflow, all of it, digitizing everything. Then that gives us the opportunity to be able to leverage this.
Yeah.
More of the at home, more of the, we. There's no point. There's no real need to meet in person when you can do this, what we're doing right now, much more quickly.
Yeah,
Much.
yeah, it is. It's quicker, and it's effective, and it's when I think as people get better at doing it, we'll have a lot more information and a lot more people communicating openly about what's going on. And of course, there's a lot of recorded things. Everything that people do then is posted online, and you can go check it out later. But being part of the
Yeah.
live events is really cool, because you get to ask questions and interact on the spot live, like you could if
Hmm.
you were there with them, talking or discussing a certain project or application. So you get a lot of questions answered live that you couldn't if you were just attending a pre-recorded show. So I
Right.
like the live events. It's been really it's kind of saved my life to be sitting there during the day watching some of these events, and
Oh yeah.
not just going in the head about what's going on out there, and all the negativity that you hear out there. And it's just trying to stay positive, because there are some good things to focus on, and our industry has a lot of that, so that's good. But anyways, no, in general too, I know that you have been doing, like you said, a lot of new housework out
Yep.
there.
Yep.
I have my daughter here. She does a lot of basketball, so we've been able to at least play at our net here in the yard, and keep things going. But it's hard to look at the younger generation about what they're going through and what they have to handle. And you have children
Hmm.
also, so I know they're young.
Yeah, I've won.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you have one
It's
child. Yeah,
three. Just
yeah.
turned 3.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's at least he's not talking about it right now or seeing it differently. My daughter being 11, she's just getting done with the 5th grade right now, and they're not going back to school. As you know, most schools aren't going back to finish the end of their year. So
Yeah.
she's has all the questions about what's going to happen, and is this going to keep going, and am I going to get to see everybody? But they've had the same thing that's started to creep up with their online courses and communication, and even stuff like joining Netflix parties and watching TV together.
Sure. Yeah.
So you get to see what like their outlets are,
Yeah.
in this new process, and it's got to stay active, but they also have to keep learning. So and I'm also having to do a lot more homework with her, which is really cool. I mean, being in 5th grade, it's like, oh, this is a piece of cake. But then you look at the new way they're doing things, and it's like, oh, I have to relearn the way I do things too. Hey,
yeah, right.
hey, why not? It's
Sure. Yeah, it's funny. I had running the same stuff with my son, but I'm also trying to understand how to teach him, which has been enjoyable, because then you're also like kind of picking up even more so how your kids learn. Like when you're in a classroom, everyone's going to eventually learn, because the curriculum is very long, or they use different devices throughout a duration of time. But when you're one-on-one with someone, you can deliver it, specialize the delivery of information, specific to them.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting trying to figure out, really understand how your kid works and learns, and try and keep that going along with everything else like we were talking about. So it's just one more thing,
one more thing,
and it gets to be daunting, we'll say.
It's new. It's new. We haven't been living this way. All of society hasn't. So it's like figuring out how to live, and to do the things like now. Even little stuff like drawing. I used to draw a lot when I was younger, but now I'm drawing more with my daughter, because that's part of her learning, is to come up with different. She has to draw out different geometry and do different things, and so being able to sit down and do that with her, I'm like, this is my world. Let's do this.
Right. Yeah.
She's like, I don't know how to figure out the area of this. I'm like, let's do that.
Let's do that.
So that's fun.
That's fun.
That's something a little bit different, that at least I'm getting to spend that time with my daughter, and instead of a teacher or another person being there in her life. So it's great to be a part of that. So I look at the gratitude side more than it's a pain having them home all day and everything.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Although you do get tired of, everyone needs their space. It's the space.
Yeah.
You can give me a moment, please. But yes. Yeah, so everything that she's doing now is good. It kind of like, I look at what she goes to do for online stuff, and I'm glad that she's at least staying engaged. And of course, you and I have both attended some online events over the last month. I know we talked a little bit about what we've enjoyed. What were some of the ones that you've enjoyed in the past month?
I've only attended the one. It was I don't know that it was really by Stratasys per se. I think maybe they had
Blueprint.
Back to the Blueprint. Yeah, that's who it was. Blueprint, right? And so I attended their webinar, which was actually very good. I was kind of under the impression that when I hear from anyone and I see that it's backed, doesn't matter who it is, what company it is, but when it's backed, that you're always kind of on the back end waiting to hear some kind of something about their machine, what they're doing. But even in the Q&A, some of the stuff that they talked about was very agnostic and very open. And, I thought some of the questions, I can't remember what it was I heard even.
Yeah.
They asked something about one of the technologies, maybe. I think it was the difference between SLS and SLA or FDM or something. And I thought, okay, here we go. It was going to be. And then the answer he gave, I thought, wow, that was actually a very unopinion, just kind of very
they service the whole community, and they house all the different all the different technologies, so they do have a very vast view of what's happening in the industry and how to serve it. So it was good to see their perspective, of course, and I think that was a very educational tracked webinar. And I even went to Dendrite, which is that they had a conference about a week and a half ago, and that was a newer company that just popped up in the last year, Carl Bass was a big part of starting them and funding them in the beginning, because he's of course from Autodesk fame, and then their new company Dendrite over there is building a kernel inside of the computers that actually powers additive. So they're building the kernel specifically for the tasks inside of additive manufacturing. And now they went ahead and put on a conference, which was, again, pretty much thrown together because of what's happening with COVID-19. And they were getting over their little hurdles with their first experience, but it went really well. And there was a lot of interesting applications inside there. I even saw something talking about a new company that's coming up with printing 2 metals at once. And the only reason they're able to do that was because of this kernel that Dendrite has that allowed them to now do that. And I was like, whoa, that's a really interesting application of something that hasn't quite been done before. So I think that was one of the really cool things I uncovered, was just the ability to look at, not only we look at our hardware out there, what OEM are you working with, what printer do you have, what software do you have, but I kind of forgot, other than I'll go buy a really powerful computer to run my CAD programs.
Right. Yeah.
But additive in particular pulls power differently. You have to transfer files, you have to monitor the build, all that takes a lot of computing power, and a computer doesn't necessarily put the right power when it's needed. So now with that kernel, they're able to do some cool things. So I like to see different applications out there that all attribute to what is pushing additive manufacturing forward, and that was a good one. So it's always good to find out new things, and then I'm looking forward to this week that Link 3D on Monday has their marathon going on. So I'll be sitting in that and enjoying what they're doing, because they've always done a great job, and they continue to do so. It's a great group over there, and it's always good to get inside of what they're doing and to see what they're bringing to the community, because they actually do service the whole community, and especially in this time, we need something like that. So it's good stuff.
Very good.
Yeah, man.
It's exciting.
It is. It's exciting.
Are you cutting your own hair?
Why does it look cut? You know what I did?
Because it looks good. It looks good, actually, is what it is. It looks good. And mine, you can see, this is how long we've been in quarantine.
Well, I had my hair cut the day before quarantine happened.
Did you really? Wow.
Yeah, I went before they closed down. I called I called the haircut place, and I just said, hey, can I get an appointment? And they said, I think today's our last day we're open, so yeah, if you get here before 5.
You're like, yeah, normally you get it a 3. You're like, give me a 1.
Exactly.
So real tight.
So this has grown out for being like really short a month ago, and
that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm hanging in there, but hopefully I don't have to cut my own hair, because that would be a nightmare.
Yeah. Yep. That would be a nightmare. I would be one of those memes that I've seen about people cutting their own hair while on quarantine.
Right. Yeah, with a mohawk or something.
Yeah, or something weird. I don't know, but yeah.
I think I saw one of our colleagues on Facebook that had done something like that, a faux hawk or something like that. One of the consulting guys over there. But
I'm trying to think of who that would have been.
I don't know if we should mention his name. I don't want to call him out. He's a great guy. His name starts with a D. And he works in the Additive Minds crew over there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Good guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that it was interesting to see. He's like, I think his girlfriend did it. He's like, oh boy, I let my girlfriend cut my hair. I was like, oh well.
Was that? Did he lose a bet or something?
I don't know. It's just.
Or she pissed her off. They've been living close quarters too long.
It looked like something he could style for the weekend and then bring it down during the weekday at work. Hopefully, if he has to go back into the office. But
that's funny.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll end up with something like a mullet, I guess. I don't know. It'll grow out in the back long, and I'll just shave the top. I don't know. Well, hopefully, I don't have to. We don't have to get there. That would be. Scary.
Yeah. But it's a camera, so I use that. But actually, today's, like I say, the first day I ever even plugged up this webcam. It used to be in my 3D printing, my desktop machine, this enclosure I have for it.
Nice. Can we get another shot of that, man? Do you mind showing it on screen again?
No, not at all.
There we go. There it is. Looks like a safe in the house. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, it was just a cheap desktop machine, something that I can screw around with at home. It's FDM, right? And problem is that, as you really want to control temperature
Yeah.
when you're building, and that was open to the room, which means it's open to the air conditioning, it's open to fans, whatever else. So everyone, a lot of other people that are in like at least the hobbyist arena, they like build their own box or they make something. And I was with a friend of mine, and then we're looking at different things online. I was like, you should just get a server box, that they would mount on the wall, and just get that. It already has the glass doors. You can pop them down so you can work on your thing. It was a glass door so you can see in it. That'll work. And it
Yeah.
turns out it worked really well, because we insulated the thing and started to heat the environment inside, and that thing gets hot and holds the heat surprisingly well for it being some kind of just slapped together, no real
Yeah,
thought being put into it.
again, where there's a will, there's a way, man. You'll figure it out.
Yeah,
That's good. That's
yeah,
cool to have that. I don't have a home printer. I want to get one myself. It'd be fun to just hobby with and play with. And now that Rhiannon's getting older, my daughter, I have to hook something up at home so she could play with a little more and get more,
yeah. I'm doing it again.
experience.
I need to
Yeah.
go camera.
Yeah, camera. Hey, how is it?
Camera.
No, but yeah, she. It's funny because when she started out, unlike my education, she started out with 3D printers day one. Actually, her first day of first grade, the open house, they were, I was walking around talking to everybody, and they had a printer set up on a table, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is part of our day. We have we have them work with the printer and do different applications." And I was like, wow, wait, this is first grade, really? I mean, it's it's that was something a little bit more high school, college-ish, but now it's introduced that young, and that's really neat. She's been involved in everything from even the Girl Scouts and doing Helping Hands, which is enables a company out there that produces prosthetics for young children, and they give them to them for free.
Yeah.
It's more like on a maker thing where it's a open source file that you can go out there and grab and make your own hands and
Yeah.
orthopedic stuff for children. It's smaller, and she did that. So she got involved with working with the Girl Scouts and Enable, and she's done a lot of stuff in 3D printing already at her young age. So I think that's really got to keep that going, and like you said,
That's really exciting too. I mean, I know, like you say, first grade, that's more of a college level. I probably in the use, the practical use of the machine, but also
Yeah.
at the same time, at a younger age, it really helps them to
Yeah.
kind of get that additive mindset, I guess we would say,
Designing,
kind of that
start to think
design,
about designing for additive, yeah, and what that.
right? But really challenging how you interact with your world. I mean, the designs, the shape, the way you come up with things. Before, you had to, maybe first grade, I don't know, is it construction paper and scissors, and you're gluing things onto plates and something, right?
Yeah,
That's
arts and
kind of
crafts.
okay, right? And so, as simple as that sounds, but you still think, okay, in order for me to have this, I have to cut it out of this bigger piece of paper.
Yeah.
Right. So I maybe just thinking differently about what's possible.
Yeah.
And how you can go about making these things into something physical. Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of changing that closed-mindedness of that from a younger age. So
Yeah,
that,
it's a new way of thinking.
yeah.
As we both know, design for additive is getting into, hey, this is you have different constraints inside of what we're doing, but at the same time, you have a lot of freedom. And so you have to balance that out and looking at each particular, machine, their setup, how you would think about laying something out, what you're going to fit inside the build,
Right.
all that nesting. You get into all this stuff that you're not quite thinking about in other manufacturing processes. So doing that early and looking at that stuff in first grade, that's only I can imagine when she graduates from college, Lord willing, that she she's probably going to have some amazing.
He does have faith in his daughter.
Yes, he does. I guess to go back what we're saying about kids, just what they're going to be like in the future now, and everything that happened with my daughter starting out in first grade and where she's going to be. It's exciting to see what the future holds with what's going to be happening in 10, 20 years, 5 years from. Geez, 5 years already. From everything that I went through with EOS, there was so much change in the last 5 years.
So much change. Even the last 2 years has been like 2 years really picked up. I mean, there have been a lot of different workflows that I think are going, for example, like you're saying with that kernel, right? There's a lot of different periphery systems be it hardware, software, post-processing, pre-process, something, but around the actual production of part, that's really quite impressive of where we'll be. I mean, if we have the solutions today, we're a very short shot out from them being at a higher TRL level, like we would say, at a different level of being ready to go into market, usability. So like augmented reality and AI.
Yeah, wow, that's a whole nother ball game. AI,
which we could make a whole thing about. Factory of
automation,
the future, or whatever.
Industry 4.0.
I think all those words mean the same thing, right?
Yeah,
Industry 4.0 and Factory of the Future and the Fourth Industrial Revolution.
How about what's next?
That's
basically it. Like, what do we think is going to happen next from what we have now? But it's interesting. A lot of times, what you think is going to happen next and what actually happens, as we've seen, you can't even fathom what's next. There's so many amazing things that happen. It's just unbelievable. I mean, even metal printing, it's like now for you and I, it's like, oh yeah, metal printing. But most of the people, out there, when you talk to them, they don't even know it exists in the normal, outside of the industry. They're like, metal printing? Oh, wow. There's some really intense metal 3D
When I get that from people, like, as I tell them, I work, or I used to, be with EOS, and they say, "Oh, what's that?" I go like, "Well, they're a manufacturer of industrial additive manufacturing machines." What's that? So, well, 3D. Okay, 3D printing, because I kind of at this point just want to be done. Trying because it's too hard.
They're not there anywhere near yet.
So if I do that,
eject. Yeah.
So that same kind of understanding, and you say, oh yeah, and metals. I think right away you kind of get this. Oh, like a Hot Wheel car, like some kind of die-cast toy, like some kind of something.
Right. Desktop printer. That's what.
Some kind of desktop. It's not really going to be truly like wrought steel. It's not a real product. It was a 3D printed one. It's kind of that kind of mentality, I think, and it's like that's not the case.
Well, that's the big difference between mainstream and I guess 3D printing and additive.
Right.
3D printing, a lot of people think about the desktop, the home printers, but additive, it's actually pushing towards manufacturing and repeatability and quality. That's the big thing, being able to actually make something consistent over and over again. And that's really where, companies excel, that like EOS and other companies out there that are doing that level of industrial manufacturing. That's a totally different ball game than the desktop world. So that that's the line between 3D printing and additive manufacturing. But a lot of people aren't in that additive manufacturing world yet, where they don't need it. I mean, the world's a big place, but for those
it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone. Just like owning your own lathe in your garage is not for everyone.
You got it. Not many are going to have the local people in your neighborhood are going to have a lathe in their garage.
Right.
But there are those that do.
And it's funny when you talk. So I was having this conversation, actually, I think it was just last night or the night before last, with my wife, kind of about who knows what, like you're saying, with additive, the technologies and things are around now, the ideas, the concepts are around now, but who knows what it'll really look like when it's available, what form that will take. And to that point, I was telling my wife, like when we would watch like shows growing up, like Star Trek or something, and they had like this device that no matter where they were, they just get on it and start talking, and someone else hears them from wherever they are. And it's like, oh yeah. Here's this thing that can just do whatever it wants to do, and you can just talk to people from wherever. Oh my God, that's such crap. And then fast forward, and we have that as a watch. We have an Apple Watch. Who knows? Who would have thought that's what it would take the form of? But
10 years ago it was the Moto. What was it, Razor X or whatever it was? The flip phone that looked exactly like the little transponder.
The little that you flip open.
But that was over 10 years ago. That was already Star Trek, man, and more. So I think they're actually coming out, or they have come out. I've seen some prototypes with the new one that's actually a full screen when you open it up. Pretty neat. Even that particular brand is coming back, and design. But anyways, no, good stuff. I know we've been chatting for a while, man. I really appreciate you doing this, and I guess in general what we've been doing is trying to find hope in our industry, and we've seen a lot of it, you know, from the trade shows now going online to all the new advancements, and what we're doing as a response to PPE and the community out there with COVID-19. It's really been, I guess, a pleasure to be in and around this community, because there's so much to look forward to. We just talked about that. There's just so
There
much
really is, yeah. There's
but,
a lot going to be happening. Like I say, I think it's going to be happening. I think we can both kind of feel it. I think everyone who's around it can see that there's, so at some point this is all going to come together, and there's going to be a way to make these all these pieces fit into a, you know, deliverable package.